Welcome to Eureka Street Crypto. This is my anti-professional crypto channel. I'm just a barely sane dude who fell down the cryptocurrency rabbit hole. This channel is my fumbling attempt to communicate myself outside my own head about my journey in the crypto space. It is basically my brain dump. None of this is actual financial advice. Good morning, everybody. I'm Eureka John, and you're at Eureka Street Crypto, broadcasting live at 7:13 in the morning from Leander, Texas, a little suburb outside Austin. And this is my video blog, aka Morning Brain Dump, and I got a lot to dump this morning. I don't even know where to start, honestly. But this program is not sponsored by anybody. I'm not shilling anything. I'm just trying to articulate all the stuff that I'm learning. And yes, learning is reading and listening and watching videos and podcasts and books and articles and all that stuff, but it's also trying to articulate it outside yourself. So that's what I'm doing here every single morning. I started doing this October 24th, 2020. And here I am still doing this December 18th, 2021. So yeah, and I do it every single morning. It took me a little bit to kind of find my rhythm, but as of February 6th, 2021, I have broadcasted every single day something. I can't say everything that I talk about and that I say is high quality material, but I do this on a daily basis, so you have to forgive me for sometimes my misrepresentation, my inconsistency in being able to explain things. And just sometimes technical errors. So that's what happens. So all apologies aside, let's move on over to CoinGecko and see what's going on over here. Let me zoom out the screen. For those of you who are listening on audio, you have to pardon me sometimes whenever I'm trying to adjust screen stuff. This is on Spotify. It's on Google Play. It's on Amazon. It's on, Podbean, Last FM, Listen Notes, a bunch of them. It's just not on Apple Play because I can't seem to figure out that whole. They got to authenticate. They're trying to tell me to authenticate my address or something like that, and it's authentic. I don't know, man. It's just some stupid registration thing that Apple makes you go through, and it's a real pain in the butt. So I have not had the time to sit around and dick around with that. So yeah. Yep, you only have so much time, and time is valuable. Time is money, and I make time every single day to learn about crypto stuff, and I don't really want to sit around and try to cater to everything that Apple's trying to make me jump through to do this. All right, so that being said, let's move on over here to CoinGecko and take a look. Bitcoin's everything's still moving sideways. It's an interesting market right now. I was listening to some podcasts on Uncommon Core yesterday, and I can't remember who they're interviewing. But it was just, they were talking about a bunch of the market conditions, and then, they were talking about how people selling at the top and buying at the bottom, and those are the same people doing that. And people, I don't know. I'll link that podcast in the description. It's a real good analysis on the current market situation. So thanks to CryptoFu for showing me that. Ethereum, $3,963. Bitcoin's pretty low at 47,025 and 18 cents. Binance Coin 530.65. Solana 181.26. Let's see, Cardano $1.26. XRP 83 cents. Avalanche $116.01. So if you bought like last week at $77, I think you're doing pretty well with Avalanche. It's up 41.9% in the past 7 days. Polkadot, it's just kind of remained flat, 25.26. Terra is up 17.5% to 71.72 in the past 7 days, 12.6 in 24 hours. So it's hit a little spike. And boom! The Dogeroony down to number 12. I'm so glad to see Terra, Polkadot, and Avalanche all poke ahead of the dog coins. Shiba Inu is some weird number well below zero, 0.00003198. Polygon 219. I think that one needs to go ahead and just push on up. And let's see here. We have crypto.com at 53 cents. Litecoin 149.56. Chainlink 1992. I remember 1992. I was about 16 years old. Yep. All right. So maybe 17. I don't know. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm dating myself. Yeah, 1992, year of Lollapalooza. I went to the second one. Soundgarden, Ministry, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, Lollapalooza. All right, so let's see here. Okay, well, that being said, let's move on to some other more interesting stuff. Sometimes I focus on more token oriented projects and DeFi, and other times I go into the metaverse, and other times, I just kind of go all over the place. Sometimes I focus on the original like cypherpunks and I read some of the old Waydai and B Money, type of stuff. The cypherpunks from Timothy May. Yeah, but other times I'll go into more philosophical stuff. I believe that was the last Sunday or the Sunday before that like, I sat there and read like about the whole idea of Moloch, like, and went way far deep down the philosophical rabbit hole. Well, I have been doing some research on things like Giveth.io, which is essentially, if you really just want to kind of just like put it in the most basic, simple terms, it's like a Kickstarter, but for blockchain, utilizing blockchain and providing complete transparency and 100% transparency in it. So we'll take a just quick look at their website, just to kind of Giveth.io. Welcome to the future of giving. And hold on, let me open up this window so you can see everything in it, because the screen opened up all big and weird. All right, there we go. Now you can see the future of giving. Sorry for my audio listeners. All right, so let me open this back up. Okay. So yeah, start raising your funds for your projects. Donate directly to social goods projects with zero added fees, because Kickstarter's cool. It allows anybody to be able to raise funds for themselves. I mean, even a lot of people do Kickstarters to help with like funeral costs if they're because funerals are expensive, or to help people cover medical bills, who might suddenly get cancer and have no way to do anything. But it's real expensive to run a nonprofit on your own. So things like Kickstarter have been amazing to help people and projects and communities raise funds without the intermediaries there. So it's one step towards eliminating the intermediary. But what if you could do it on the blockchain? So here's Giveth, a decentralized altruistic community using blockchain technology to help make the world a better place. Yeah, it's decentralized. They're open, non-hierarchical global initiative. They empower communities with novel decentralized technologies to address their collective needs. They're altruistic. We build tools for the common good and support others in doing so as well. On the Giveth DApp, 100% of the funds donated go to the cause of the donor intended to support. Because, I mean, you see all these people all the time, grocery store ladies and stuff, or men, who are checking you out and not like, who are doing the checkout. Are a lot of times like, do you want to help starving children? And what are you going to say that? Like, no. It's not that I don't want to help, starving children and stuff like that. It's just that I know that a lot of times the money that I would sit there and give to a grocery store would be better off given in another way, whether it be through something that I'm active in my church or in my community or something like that, or actually helping out people I know that have like for instance, somebody at my work has a relative that was one of their somebody one of their relatives, yeah, somebody at my work has a relative that was has a son that was involved in some terrible situation, and therefore there was 6 kids, the youngest being a baby 6 weeks old and the oldest being 15, that were displaced out of a home. Well, that is something that I can directly give to and know where that money goes and be able to help out. I can not just give money, but I can give my time. I can give things that I have. I can pool my neighbors and friends, and we can all kind of give to that. And it doesn't have to go through some kind of bureaucratic organization to do so, and we're basically a lot of times only like 10% of what you are giving at the grocery store counter actually goes to where it's needed to go, because it has to go down through the little silly, quarter bounce peg thingy, like Connect Four almost, kind of bouncing around trying to, actually find where it's going to land, because it has to go through all these little avenues of bureaucracy and middle people and all that other stuff in order to get where it needs to go. Well, Things like Kickstarter have eliminated a little bit of that, because you don't have to go through gigantic organizations. But then Giveth takes it a step further by doing this on the blockchain, and it's 100% transparency on the blockchain. So they build tools for the common good and support others in doing so as well. On the Giveth app, 100% of the funds donated go to the cause to the donor intended to support. So we build, and then community, we build tools that create strong bonds and alignment for people on the planet. We see donations as an opportunity to connect givers to the people on the ground doing the good work. So how it works, our system connects the people on the ground directly to the givers and provides a level of transparency and accountability no other platform can offer. So for makers, create a project and get donations in crypto. Create your project and start raising funds. So yeah, it allows nonprofits to be able to, get donations in crypto. And for a while, I was in some talks with somebody from Mexico who was trying to start trying to buy a van for an orphanage for blind kids over there. And she was trying to ask me about like DeFi protocols and how to, utilize those in order to be able to grow their treasury for, for their orphanage. But she wasn't really connected to any non-governmental organization, NGO or nonprofit, no 501c3 or anything like that. Which is in the United States, for tax purposes, you have to be a 501c3 in order to be a nonprofit. I don't really know the ins and outs of all that stuff, but like I didn't really know how to help her at the time. And since then, I've heard about things like Angel Protocol, and then now here's Giveth. So it allows basically smaller projects and people to be able to kind of go on here and pitch themselves and stuff like that. As you can see here, the Diamante Bridge Collective, bridging, then all these verified, nonprofits that can go through, the Giveth project here that will allow these smaller projects to receive funding directly from people that care about that, whatever cause they're trying to help to solve. Okay, so yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, so let's go back. Let me refocus myself. I kind of just went total golden retriever here. So anyway, I wasn't going to spend this entire time talking about Giveth. I was really trying to talk about ways about like the whole idea of commons and what those are, because getting into Giveth got me into this whole talks with some people about token engineering commons and what ways that you can redesign donation platforms and token engineering and things like that in order to be able to help out, in order to be able to incentivize donations in a way, because donations, a lot of times you donate and you just see it, basically go into that memory hole. And that's kind of like at the checkout counter at the grocery store. Do you want to help starving children? Sure. And you feel good about yourself for 2 seconds. Anybody else behind you in the line knows that you care about starving children, so and then you feel good, and then you go on your way and you forget about it until next time you're at the grocery store, right? So let's see here. There are other ways of doing it where you can actually participate and be incentivized in that giving, and this is called bonding curves and augmented bonding curves. And I know that is getting pretty deep, so I've kind of started going down this rabbit hole, and it's yeah, there's a lot in here. So let me take a look here at this first article, and I'm going to jump way back, but the augmented bonding curve part 1, a way to fund public goods. So this is an article by by the Commons Stack, which is this website right here, commonsstack.org. And Giveth is a great way to give, but what if you could give and then hold on, here's a tweet over here. Where is it? Bookmarks. Let me go to my bookmarks. And Griff Green posted a tweet, and it kind of just summarized it well in a little tweet. And let me see here. What if, okay, actually, yeah, the Commons Stack summarized it too. All right, so, okay, so he says, Griff Green says, what if, instead of donating 100% of their funds, Donors also deposit into a circular economy and were given governance rights. This is the augmented bonding curve. This is why Web3. All right. And so the Commons stack says, what if instead of donations being sent and disappearing forever, they continued to work and we held governance over them? This new piece explains why our invention. Oh man. Okay. Hold on. Okay. This new piece explains why our invention, the augmented bonding curve, is needed in the public goods space. And this sent me on like a total rabbit hole. All right, so let's go into the augmented bonding curve. So yeah, I started off with Giveth, and I kind of related it to Kickstarter, and I was like, oh, cool. They take out the middleman. It uses blockchain technology. There's 100% transparency. You know where your funds are going to. But then it's gone and it's over and it's done, right? Your donation. What if it were to continually be able to work in an economy, and then you suddenly had some governance and some stake in that? Yeah. So a lot of times we donate and we just want to forget about it. So the augmented bonding curve is designed to align the incentives of a community with support for a specific public good. In this new series of articles, we delve further into the why, what, and how of the ABC augmented bonding curve. So here's a little anecdote. I don't know who authored this, but either Griff Green or Tamara Hellenius. When I was a kid, I remember walking through the mall with my mom being picked up from kindergarten, regularly begging that we stop and donate to charity on the way home. Not that any emergent sense of needing to pitch into the world's woes. No, at the time it was because my charitable donations, quarters, nickels, and nickels mostly, would sprint down a slide and dance around this lovely funnel game. They would stand up like magic, making tighter and tighter circles until they would chatter down the hole with the rest of the donations. And I think a lot of you know what I'm talking about. That big yellow inverted cone at the mall, and you put the little quarter in there and it goes until it gets down to the bottom. And as a kid, you're just staring at it being like, wow, man, that's rad. Or you could be stoned and you could be a teenager at the mall looking at it with the same effect, being like, whoa, man. Afterwards, as mom and I walked home, the real work, because I was about a teenager when those things came out, so I was in the mall, I think these people in kindergarten, a little younger than me. So afterwards, as mom and I walked home, the real work for all that donated money would begin. At least that's what we'd have to assume. Our relationship with money, more importantly with whatever organization we had donated to, was over as soon as our coins clattered into the collection bowl, right? So you donated, you're good. You convinced the lady at the grocery store and everybody behind you in the grocery store that you care about starving children, and you rounded up your total for your groceries to the next dollar up, and you care about starving children, right? So at least, okay, so the real work for all that money would begin, right? At least that's what we'd assume. Our relationship with money, and more importantly with whatever organization we had donated to, was over as soon as our coins clattered into the collection bowl, as soon as that dollar was rounded up at the grocery store checkout line. So we wish them, our money, and the cause all the best. Thank you. Great. Yeah, I'm a good person now. While that funnel may have been a fun diversion for me, it still remains an accurate representation of how public goods, parks, municipal park, nonprofits, and any other good or service meant to benefit us all, how they are funded. Okay, so it still remains an accurate representation of how public goods are funded by modern society. That's the thing when you're reading like written pieces. Sometimes there's all these like little mid-sentence parentheses and stuff like that. It doesn't come out well vocally, so you have to like read the entire sentence and omit the parentheses first, and you can go back and listen to and read the parentheses. So while that funnel may have been a fun diversion for me, it still remains an accurate representation of how public goods are funded by modern society. And this includes parks, municipal art, nonprofits, and any other good or service meant to benefit us all, right? So a donation, a little dance, and we're done. Yay, cha-cha-cha. But yet public goods create real value, right? So what's a public good? But to do so in a free market, they have to rely on sacrifice, for instance, of my coins into the funnel or a volunteer's time. But to do so in a free market, For public goods to create real value in a free market, they have to rely on sacrifice with no expectation of any return, much less any profit. We wonder, though, why? Right? That's a good question. Why? I mean, why should I not profit off of, why should donations just be out of the kindness of your own heart and you not receive anything from it? I mean, I know church pastors say you should always give without any expectation of any return. Or a lot of times they say, if you give, you will return tenfold, and a lot of times, but it's kind of this weird little, ambiguity, this vagueness of like, yeah, we need to give, but you should never give without any return, without any expectation of return. But if you do give, you will receive in return, right? And it's this kind of like this contradiction, this constant contradiction of things. Yeah, you should give. Don't expect a return, but you're gonna get a return. Like, is that by reputation? Is that by monetary return? Church pastors are constantly harping, you will receive. If you give, and you shall receive. So a lot of people take that literally as you will receive, like you're investing in something. 10x return, 10x, 100x, so, but it's not like that. And there's a lot of ambiguity. So why should you have to feel like you're just kind of giving without any type of uncertainty, right? I guess that defeats the point of giving. I don't know. So anyway, philosophical questions aside, a project meant to benefit the greater good should be rewarded for its own success, as should those who supported its formation financially or with their energy, or both. The result is what we have today, a system in which altruism is treated as an economic defect. Okay, so if you always say it's not profitable being a nonprofit. So public goods have no customers. They're open to all, and there is nothing we expect to receive in return for supporting the cause, but maybe a tax write-off, right? You go to Goodwill, and they get the little slip of paper after you empty your trunk full of a bunch of tattered clothes. And there's no real way to measure, and of course, they're exploiting people on probation, trying to to work off getting arrested over having a joint, right? I was one of those people at one point. So all right, so public goods have no customers, and there's nothing we expect to receive in return for supporting the cause, besides a tax write-off. And there's no real way to measure, retain, and proliferate whatever value a project has created. But a public rose garden has obvious worth to its community, right? So why is the process of funding and maintaining that garden essentially a losing game? You have these community gardens, and they're amazing, and everybody loves community gardens or parks and stuff like that. But there's really only a couple people that are super hardcore about maintaining that. And a lot of times, if you step on their toes, they're not too friendly. But what if instead of our coins dropping into the bowl and disappearing forever, they continued to spin? And we're joined by others' donations too. All of that contributed value working in concert, observable, accountable, directable, and growing. What if the value of my donation would stay alive, spinning perpetually at the bottom of that little funnel, that yellow cone, inverted cone thing at the mall, until I decided to remove it? By then, it would have accrued even more value attendant to the project's growth. So here's a little GIF here, and it shows a funnel, and there's like a yellow coin kind of dropping into the funnel, but then it comes around a cycle and it drops back into itself. I think this is a pretty good explanatory graphic for that. So thanks to the technologies enabled by DeFi, decentralized finance, and the blockchain, we now have the means to bootstrap funding for public goods in a way that provides all involved, from financial supporters to volunteers to project leads. They provide all involved a means of safely and sustainably holding onto and growing over time the value of their project. Okay, so yeah, you're not just throwing it into a memory hole. You, as a financial supporter, you get to watch that grow over time, and the value of your donation grows, and you still are tied to that value. So yeah, you can, speculate on it too, even though you're not technically supposed to. On top of this important economic shift comes an equally important philosophical possibility too. Public goods are not just a money pit. All right, so with this new invention, the augmented bonding curve comes into play, ABC. The typical bonding curve is ruthlessly efficient at its job, acting as a primary market maker and price discovery robot, allowing a token's price to move automatically in step with market demands while also being under collateralized. Bonding curves are especially helpful in low liquidity environments, as could be expected for a nonprofit, for example. So this is where I got thrown off because I didn't know what a bonding curve was. I was like, augmented bonding curve. Now they're talking about bonding curves and they're comparing the two, and I don't even know what a damn bonding curve is. So I'd have to go back and like figure out what a bonding curve is. So, and I'll do that in just a second here. So the augmented bonding curve works in the same way with some important structural differences under the hood, including vesting, tributes from entries and exits, and a treasury alongside it for funding good work, which allow for public goods to do something kind of magical for the first time, quantify their own qualitative value. A public good, something public, quantifying their own quantitative value. As tokenized commons, the value of these projects, including the work that goes into developing them, so the value of these projects is able to be stored, measured, rewarded, and grown just like any other startup. Successful commons, like a nonprofit, a charity, a public park, or whatever, they will be bootstrapped. Just like any other startup, successful commons will be bootstrapped by labor, capital, and expertise, and early supporters will seek their risk and reward and work rewarded by the commons itself, and the commons itself will be primed for the promising next chapter. So it can be rewarding and personally profitable in a way to donate and grow, and you can even grow your financial interest and financial donation and even your personal reputation objectively by donating. So I had to go back and look at what bonding curves are. So I got to start the very basics because I'm a total ignoramus when it comes to a lot of this stuff, especially like token mechanics and stuff like that. So there's an article by Simon de la Rouvière. So I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it because it looks French. He wrote an article back in February 20 of 2018 called "Saving the Planet, Making It Profitable to Protect the Commons." All right, so without regulation, it is hard to avoid the abuse of a commons, whether it is water, a pasture, or a forest. Even with regulation from governments, there are still externalities that exist that are tough to enforce. Example given, global regulation is hard. Some commons are out of reach of regulation. Some commons regulation could still be abused through corruption, and some externalities are simply never catered for due to the cost and coordination. So yeah, you take like UNICEF and United Way and Red Cross. I mean, there is so much corruption going on in those. When you donate, it just basically goes into a hole and just thousands of layers of bureaucracy and, the costs for doing galas and all types of stuff, don't even get me started. All right. Instead of trying to force actors to curb the inevitable abuse of a commons, one could instead make it profitable to protect it. Profitable to protect a commons like a rainforest, right? Interesting. Okay. One could instead make it profitable. I'm going to highlight that. Okay. So using new forms of economic coordination afforded by blockchain technology, we can indeed make it profitable to have a valuable reputation in a particular context. In fact, it would become more profitable to protect the commons as it becomes more abused. Okay, so now they're talking about, before this, augmented bonding curve. So this is the precursor to augmented bonding curve. This is the bonding curve. So we're laying the foundation for the refined, because obviously the bonding curve, because they have the augmented bonding curve, had problems, okay? But it was a start. So let's go back to the start and we'll check it out. All right, so, but it's a really interesting principle, and the way he explains it is pretty amazing. So okay, this would result in so using new forms of economic coordination afforded by blockchain technology, we can indeed make it profitable to have a valuable reputation in a particular context. In fact, it would become more profitable to protect the commons as it becomes more abused. This would result in a balancing economic principle that self-regulates the abuse of a commons without the requirement of state-level regulation. You don't gotta have the government come and fix all your problems for communal type of lands and projects. So as the ecosystem self-regulates against abuse by making it profitable to do so, the commons would have time to heal. So when it does, the balance changes again towards the exploitation of the commons versus the protection of it, and this interplay can be profitable, and thus it is in the interest of both parties to ensure that the commons survives over time. So basically, they're depending on market influences, and to be able to balance this out. Now, bear with me. Say the premise is that it becomes more valuable to prove to a set of peers that one is protecting the commons when it is becoming increasingly necessary to do so in the face of abuse. This can be done for any commons or communal resources like forests, water, global warming, or even a more ideological commons like ensuring free software proliferates. Okay. Yeah. All right. So this person's been accused of Rube Goldberg crypto economic schemes, I guess Ponzi schemes and stuff. I don't know what Rube Goldberg is. So, yep, there's my ignorance right there. So the system works by combining curved token bonding towards a token curated registry that curates entities that prove they are protecting a shared commons. As it becomes more valuable to protect the commons, it becomes more valuable to have the associated reputation of protecting it. Right, so you're buying basically being an early investor in something, and that kind of gives you some clout, right? So those participants who act early to protect it stand to gain the most when the reputation of being a good actor becomes more valuable. In other words, being early to protect the common would reap the most value. So curve token bonding works by staking a token of value, say Ethereum, in return for a new set of tokens, say like the Save Water token, right? This is costed according to a curve. As more tokens are minted, the more costly it is to mint new tokens. So you're depositing your Ethereum, you're getting the Save Water token, we'll call it the SW token, and at any time, those participants can sell back their tokens on this curve and exit, reducing supply and thus reducing subsequent cost of buy-in again. So, as you are locking up your Ethereum and you're getting the Save Water token in exchange, and then more and more people start to do it after you, the more that Save Water token starts to accrue value. Then at any point when you decide that it's not worthy anymore, or you decide you want to cash out on that, you cash out your Save Water tokens and get back the appreciation and value between those two, and you have earned some Ethereum. So you've basically traded your reputation for more Ethereum at that point, right? So there's a token curated registry, a TCR. It's a system where participants apply to a list that is vetted by a certain set of token holders according to a set of criteria. It is designed in such a way that is valuable to curators of this list to ensure that it is judiciously maintained according to the criteria. That's a whole other thing. All right, there's a whole other blog post about that, and I'll have to go on to it. So anyway, all right, so some criteria. So implementation details. When a commons exists and it is abundant, like the forest, right, or the oceans, or preserving water, right, there's little incentive to regulate it or protect it, right? So when you have things in abundance, and I talked about this about Moloch, that when rats just land on an island, there's plenty of fruit and land and everything to go around, and any participant can freely use it without worry. The cows can graze as they wish, right? You can just create art all day as long as you have just tons of food, the land of milk and honey. Just you're in abundance. So at any point, however, a participant can stake a form of value, let's say Ethereum, toward an associated token curated registry, right, to protect that commons. So let's say in this case it's water, right? Right now there's tons of water, tons of clean, plentiful water, and nobody would ever dream that it would ever be an issue. But if you're somebody with a little bit of foresight, and you're like, one day that water is going to run out, and I'm going to go ahead and tokenize my stake in that and say this is what's going to happen, and I'm going to put my money on that. Yeah. So they stake for example, 1 Ethereum and get 40 Save Water tokens. The cost is determined by the curve. So the 40 Save Water tokens they can apply to the registry with sufficient proof to the peers that they are indeed helping to save that water. They'll think you're crazy at first, right? Once accepted by the peers, they attain the reputation of being trustworthy actors. Say like, damn man, that dude's an OG. He's we're kind of having an issue. As time goes on and it becomes apparent that the water is being abused, the community using the water deems it more and more valuable to exclude those who are abusing the water. So suddenly water's kind of getting a little scarce. And you're like, dude, Eureka John called it back then. He even put his money on it. So my reputation at that point would be pretty good. I have all these Save Water tokens on the blockchain to prove it. So it thus becomes more valuable to be included in this list. Not doing so will mean one is being ostracized from the community and less interaction, less trade, and less access to that water. So, as me being early and holding those save water tokens and all my friends that I told about it and we all jumped in it and got it because we're saving water early, then those people who just were still blatantly just like, didn't care about it, they're going to later on, once the belt starts to tighten, they get less interaction, less trade, and less access to that water. So thus the meme of save water becomes more valuable, and it becomes more valuable to prove that one is a reputable actor. As the situation becomes more dire, the value of this reputational label becomes higher. It thus incentivizes more and more participants to stop abusing the commons and rather participate in this peer curated registry. As new members start buying tokens on the curve and start staking their save water tokens towards the registry, the save water tokens become more and more valuable. Thus, the early participants, the OGs, they're making a profit and being good actors. Yeah, man. So it's paying off their foresight to be able to think of the world around them instead of just themselves and their immediate needs. So they were first to recognize the potential abuse of the commons and the first to curb the behavior, and thus being duly rewarded later on. So as the value of the participants are increasing, they can start removing themselves from the registry and sell back their save water tokens at a profit on the bonding curve, because they're going to be rich basically by the end of all this at the cost. So, but the problem is then they sold out. They lose that reputation of being an OG holder. So this natural dissolution will happen when it becomes clear that the commons are healing and the reputational label loses its value. The participants can go back to exploiting the commons versus protecting it. So it's kind of like a checks and balances. Once enough people have curbed their behavior, the commons, the earth, and everything will heal itself in a way. And then that meme, that token has less value. And so you got to cash out the top, right? I don't know. But obviously there's some problems here, which is why they implemented the augmented bonding curve, which I'm totally out of time and I don't have time to go in today. But tomorrow I will go into more of what the augmented bonding curve is. But anyway, this whole interplay between being an early adopter and early investor in a common good, and then whenever it's kind of healed by enough people around it, and the value of that common good token raising, and then people start to cash out because it's doing so well, before it starts declining in value because too many people have jumped in it. It's this constant wave effect, right? So this interplay will continue, ensuring that the commons self-regulates itself. So yeah, then there's some further variations. In its simplest form, participants in the registry only care about acquiring the label, the little save water hashtag, a little bumper sticker, bing, so the label is thus only a little virtue signal. The label is thus only regarded as an asset that can be relinquished for a profit when they've proved their value. However, using the bonded curve, the participants in the registry can also earn as beneficiaries. When a token is minted, all existing participants also get new tokens. It is thus a residual income of sorts. All new participants not only deposit ether into the pool. So now, anytime you get anybody else involved, everybody gets a little portion of that. It's a little pretty Ponzi-ish for sure. It's like the ultimate virtue signaling in a way. It's so crazy, but I mean, in a way, it's not bad. I don't think. I think this is good. This is a really interesting objective display and economic display of the mechanics of people and causes, and people's ability to see, some people's ability to see a problem in society before everybody else does, and then once everybody else does, and then everybody curbs their behavior, then that being that early actor no longer really has value, and that meme that everybody suddenly jumps on board on the bandwagon with starts to lose its power and its impact and its value. It's right there at that upslope where a meme has like the most value possible. And then once everything is at the top, then suddenly, like once Coca-Cola and Pepsi jump on board, then it's like NFTs right now, So anyway, then the article continues on the boundaries of common protection. I hear a lot of these people in token engineering commons and in Giveth and stuff. They're quoting Elinor Ostrom, and I've never heard of her before, so I need to read her books and see what's going on. So across the world, people are maintaining the protection of commons through various ways, governmental or not. Elinor Ostrom has done amazing research in how communities manage their communal resources to avoid the tragedy of the commons. So four of the factors she presents that lends itself to effective commons protection are one, resources. So this is effective protection of commons. So one is resources with more definable boundaries are easier to preserve. So you got to have definable boundaries. Like land is a great one. I mean, obviously it's a physical boundary. And then dependence on the resources is important, especially in the scenarios where there's a perceptible threat, like droughts. Okay. And then the presence of a small and stable community have a strong, thick social network. They have a strong, thick social network. That's also helpful. And then number four, for lending itself to effective commons protection, is community-based rules and procedures with incentives for responsible use and punishment for overuse. Particularly non-locals can destroy this self-regulated solution. And I see this a lot at skateboard DIY spots. That to me is like a total DIY rugged commons that skaters kind of do, that everybody pitches in, or BMX dudes down at 6th and 9th Street, you got to shovel, for DIY spots, you got to donate concrete, you got to donate money for concrete, you got to show up and bring beer or whatever, you got to bring a trowel and sit there and help to, create these DIY things. You got to sweep, bring a broom, sweep, contribute, and everybody, it's a great way. So it's non-locals a lot of times come in and they abuse that system, and that's why skateboarders post all these signs, sweep your spot, sweep our spot, donate beer, bring concrete money and stuff like that. So yeah. And there's usually some people, and they're usually the OGs that originally started the spot. They created the first little Quick Creek quarter pipe, who kind of, in a way, unofficially run the spot, even though it's for everybody. So those are the people where you would kind of like funnel these donations to and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah. So it's important to note here how important a community is in commons protection. In the absence of force, reputation is important to facilitate commons protection. And this is the way to tokenize and quantify that reputation. Instead of just kind of showing up and making sure you're seen and bringing, the concrete money and bringing a broom, you're tokenizing your presence there at that DIY skate spot. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. So. And that goes on to some more stuff. I don't have time to go into more of that, but you kind of get the idea of what a bonding curve is. And obviously there's some problems with just the rudimentary model of what a bonding curve is, just the mechanics of it on its own. So there's, what Token Engineering Commons and the Commons stack is implementing is the idea of an augmented bonding curve. So I guess I'll try to have to get into that tomorrow. So yeah, there's so much stuff here to wrap your head around. It's insane. And I'm trying to understand it myself. And that's what this show's all about, right? So that being said, I hope you got something out of it. Yeah, we'll try this again tomorrow and see what's up. All right, later. Thank you for making it to the end of this program. If you actually like this content, give a thumbs up. And if you want to hear more, just hit the subscribe button. I'm available on YouTube, Odyssey, and BitChute, and on all the major podcasting platforms in audio version. Spotify specifically. If you would like to follow and leave a review, that would help a lot. I am also available on Twitter at EurekaJohn1. That's EUREKA John, JOHN, and the number 1. My DMs are always open. Feel free to shoot me a message.